Well, let's get this party started. How do you do? How do you do? So, my fair use disclaimer is now running across the bottom as a ticker. So it's there. And I thank y'all for being here. It is Thursday, June the 5th. No. 2025 at 3:02 p.m. Sorry, a thought crossed my mind and I had to tell myself whether I was right or wrong. I was totally in the wrong month. Totally. I was thinking next month, not this month. I skipped a month and I can't be doing that. Okay. So we're going to do day 2, deep dive into Monkey Vaughn. What I'm going to start with is kind of what we left off with yesterday. About the Fruitland woman that was arrested. I forget what her name is. Sarah Wandra was arrested and arraigned for Michaels. So let's come up here and start this. I would like to ask everybody the links are in the description. I'd like to ask everybody to please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. You can also, there's a join button somewhere. I'm sorry, I don't know where it is on there, but there's a join button somewhere where you can join. And let's see. Let's go ahead and play this. Oh, music. Hold, please. Let's see.
While police are releasing limited information regarding Michael in order to protect the integrity of the case, things continue to move forward. Sarah Wandra, the woman arrested last week in connection to Michael's case, will appear in court again next week.
You solemnly swear the testimony that you're about to give me will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Wandra was arraigned over Zoom Monday afternoon. Police accused her of failing to report Vaughn's death, and during the hearing, she denied the charge.
I understand what they said is not correct.
A judge requested Wandra undergo a mental competency evaluation, which court records show was completed on Thursday. While findings of the report cannot be made public yet, we expect to learn more Monday during her status conference. If all parties are prepared and Wandra has been found competent, we expect her back in court Tuesday for her preliminary hearing. Wandra remains in custody where she's being held on a $500,000 bond. Nicole Camarda, Idaho News 6.
Okay. So she was arraigned but later she was found not guilty on that part, but she's still in jail for something else she was doing, some dumb stuff. People do dumb things, make bad mistakes. Everybody does. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you made a bad mistake. Are you coming up? There you go. All right, so no human remains found at Fruitland home at the center of search for missing Michael Monkey Vaughn.
No human remains found in the ongoing search for missing Fruitland boy Michael Vaughn. Fruitland Police Department, after an extensive search of a home and backyard just a half a mile from the family's home. where Michael was last seen July 27th of last year. Anchor Karen Lair has been in Fruitland all day, where police briefed the media. And Karen, they introduced some new names of individuals they're trying to track down.
Yeah, and Don, we already knew the names and faces of Sarah and Stacy Wandra. They live at the house that police have been searching over the last couple of weeks. But now they tell us they believe there are 4 people with details and knowledge about the death and disappearance of Michael Vaughn.
We did not find Michael's remains.
After days of digging, no human remains found at a Fruitland home that's become the center of the search for missing Michael Vaughn. Police adamant the investigation is still their top priority.
We're just not going to stop. Everybody should know that. We are not going to stop until we uncover the truth.
Did they put all that dirt back in the yard and fix the fences? Just asking.
In its entirety.
Investigators say all dogs involved in search efforts earlier this month alerted to human remains on the property, but no bones or body parts were discovered. Authorities now believe Vaughn was abducted, killed, buried on the property, then moved.
All of those who have knowledge of Michael's...
How many other people, put a 1 in the chat, if you agree that he may have been buried and then dug up and moved? Maybe they got a hint or something that they're about to be searced or something. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree that he might have been buried and then moved. Amanda Panda says, I highly doubt it, in my opinion. I don't know if she's agreeing to what was just said or saying that she doubts he was moved. You got a 1 in the chat, so we agree. We agree. She agrees. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. Because that's kind of where I'm leading to think, is that he was buried and that Stacy was telling the truth about where he was buried. If the dog had a scent, yeah. All the dogs, that's what they said. Every dog they brought in had a scent. Stacy may have seen her bury him, then he went to jail, and then she dug him up and moved him somewhere else, and his scent would still be in the dirt.
disappearance and have failed to report or hindered our investigation will be pursued.
At a Thursday press conference, authorities releasing the names and faces of 4 individuals they say were staying in the home at the time of Vaughn's disappearance last July. Sarah Wandra was arrested immediately before search efforts began, charged with failing to report Vaughn's death. She will remain in custody as the investigation continues. Stacy Wandra,
like
Sarah's husband, has been behind bars in Washington County since May on an unrelated charge.
We believe that Stacy has firsthand knowledge and is involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughn.
Chief Huff tells me they have enough evidence to file formal charges against Stacy in relation to Michael's case, and those charges are likely forthcoming. Now, police say 2 others were staying with the Wandras.
So
Brandon Shurtleff and Adrian Lucian, both currently out of state and not in touch with police.
Amanda Panda says, I highly doubt that they put the fence back and the dirt back. From what I've seen when they came in and searched, whether it be a vehicle, a car, they rip it out, rip out your seats and your cushions and everything. Or they dump out your cereal boxes and all your drawers and they don't put it back. Well, I've never seen that happen. I've seen it on TV, but I don't know how true that is. I've never had a police come in and check the house I was staying in to see if something was wrong. But I believe you 100%. I mean, I'm not saying that you've ever experienced it, because that's not my place to say, and I don't think you have, to the best of my knowledge, but, you know, it's possible. It could be the reason they're saying it.
I strongly encourage Shurtleff and Lucian to contact the Fruitland Police Department detectives as the window of time for talking and cooperation is coming to a close.
As for the next steps of the search, investigators will use ground-penetrating radars to scan a neighbor's yard in a voluntary search on Friday, although search dogs did not alert authorities to any remains there. Fruitland Police Chief Huff is asking anyone who may have information on this investigation to come forward and talk to authorities. They are also asking the community to continue giving Michael Vaughn's family privacy during this difficult time. You can watch that entire press conference in this story on our website, idahonews6.com. Reporting in Fruitland, I'm Karen Lair, Idaho News 6.
Okay, Mandus Panda says, I seen it and seen it on the side of the road. They'll pull your entire seats out of your car and not put them back, even if they didn't find anything. I've seen on the side of the road where the police were taking stuff out of people's vehicles, but I thought they put it back. I guess I just assumed they would put it back. But if they're there to find something, they're not there to pretty it up, I guess. I'm not here to clean your house. I'm here to mess it up. I'm going to find the truth. Okay, now this little one here is little. It's 20 minutes long, but I'll break it up a little bit. And it's from Idaho News, but it's also from Stories of the Missing. And she kind of tells the whole story. I thought I heard my son. She kind of tells the whole story and brings it all into perspective in a different way than I had seen it before. Oh, I gotta bring it up on screen. I just like looking at myself. Teasing. Oh, I'm joking. This was from 3 years ago, so it would have been like 21, 20, 22. So it'd be like 6 or 8 months, maybe a year after Monkey went missing. And she entitles it Michael Monkey Vaughn, Missing or Taken.
A missing and endangered 5-year-old, the boy, Michael Vaughn.
I believe my son has been abducted. I believe somebody took him.
Police continue to investigate every detail of the case, and now they have a new lead that may bring them closer to bringing the missing boy home.
I can tell you with certainty that the Fruitland Police Department and our law enforcement partners are using every resource available and will continue to look into every possibility until we know exactly what happened.
A rural neighborhood in a small town, a dad who leaves the room to order dinner, and a mother who'd be unable to keep her promise. Did a little boy wander off and get lost? Or did something more sinister happen? And will the police ever identify the mystery vehicle and man seen in the area that day? I'm Steph Green, and today we're talking about the story of Michael Vaughn, who vanished from his home on July 27th, 2021. That summer morning at the Vaughn house started off as just an ordinary Tuesday. Little Michael's mom, Brandy, was getting ready to head off to work, her last day of a 5-day work stretch. Her husband, Tyler, was staying home to look after their 4 kids. Michael was one of those 4 siblings, with an older brother and sister and a baby sister who was just 18 months. As Brandy was getting ready to leave, Michael begged his mom to stay home and play with him. Like most 5-year-olds, he didn't like when his mom went off to work. Knowing she had the next few days off, Brandy promised him that after she got home from work, they would play and play for days. She had no way of knowing, but that was a promise she wouldn't be able to keep, because by the time she got home from work, Michael would be missing. Who is Michael Vaughn? Born on June 26, 2016, Michael was the quintessential 5-year-old boy, rambunctious, full of energy, and always getting into something, which is why his family gave him the nickname Monkey. He loved to go camping, was obsessed with race cars, and his favorite toy was his Gravedigger monster truck. He lived together with his family in a quiet neighborhood in Fruitland, Idaho. Sitting along the banks of the Snake River and about an hour drive from the state's capital, Fruitland's a small town, population only 6,000.
6,000 people. I don't think there's 6,000 people in the town I live in, and they call that a small town.
It's a rural area known for its agriculture. In fact, it's the surrounding apple orchards from which the city gets its name. Brandy has described their neighborhood as quiet, friendly, and a really safe place.
Well, compared to where you live, it would be, what, 1/12 the size of your town?
It's the kind of place where you'd want to raise your children. Just down the street is Crestview Park, where in the summertime, Brandy and Tyler, along with other families in the community, would take their children every evening to play in the splash pad. They had no way of knowing that something terrible was about to happen in this safe neighborhood. The afternoon of July 27th was a hot one. At 4 p.m., like on most days when she worked, Brandy called to check in and see how things were going. Everything was normal. Michael was hanging out in the living room playing video games with his dad. He was wearing his favorite blue Minecraft t-shirt and only some dark blue boxer briefs. The shirt was one of his favorites because Minecraft was a game that Monkey loved to play with his older brother. Just a couple of hours later, shortly after 6 p.m., Tyler left the living room where Michael was playing and went into a bedroom down the hall to check on his youngest daughter. While in there, he changed her diaper and called to order pizza for dinner.
Okay. I intentionally waited till after the diaper covered what needed to be covered. So, if he went down the hallway to where the younger child needed a diaper change, where she was probably playing in her playpen or taking a nap in her crib or whatever was going on, if he was in there talking to the baby while he was changing the baby's diaper, and Monkey got up and walked out through the garage door, which would be off of the kitchen, from the way they described the house, it's like, here's the hallway, here's the living room, and this is the hallway, and then the kitchen's off over here, and then it goes out the door. From way back here to over here, he probably wouldn't have been able to hear him go out the door. But I'm wondering, why didn't the other two children that were in the room see him go out? Nobody has yet, as far as I know, said anything about the other two children that were in the room, the older children.
He was only in the bedroom for 15 minutes, 20 at most. But when he came back out to join his son, he was hit with every parent's worst nightmare. Michael was gone. He frantically looked around his house and the surrounding area. The front door to their home was hard to open and loud, so how could Michael have gotten out without him hearing? Once Tyler realized he couldn't find his son anywhere, he made 2 panicked phone calls. One to the police and one to Brandy.
She got a call at 7:04 p.m.
Tyler said he couldn't find Michael. He was screaming for him, and I could hear the fear in his voice, and I froze at the moment. My coworker saw me, and it's like, go. And I ran, I grabbed my purse, and I drove as fast as I could here.
What happened to little Michael? Did he simply wander off, or did something more sinister visit this quiet neighborhood? And how did he leave the house without Tyler hearing him? Coming up, we're going to look at how the police responded to Michael's disappearance and what they've been able to piece together from that day.
I'm curious. Were the other 2 children even home? I hope we'll find out. I've listened to this and I don't think we did.
But first, if you enjoy the true stories of real missing people like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a video.
She speaks for me. Please like this and turn on notifications and subscribe.
Police responded to Tyler's call right away. By the time Brandy got home, she found them, along with her neighbors, outside searching for Michael. They had no idea the long road ahead. Fruitland's chief of police, J.D. Huff, has been leading efforts by law enforcement, and he's been keeping his cards pretty close to the vest on this one, not releasing many details. So there's a lot about this investigation we don't know. And while many online have criticized them for not sharing more with the public, it's understandable. It's not uncommon for law enforcement to hold back the details.
That sounds like the Sebastian Rogers case. Sumner County's not sharing details.
Of an investigation so they can use them to trip up a suspect or eliminate someone from suspicion. So what do we know about Michael's disappearance? Were the police able to determine if he made it outside on his own without Tyler hearing him? Or could someone else be involved? On July 27th, Michael was reported missing to the police sometime between 6:30 and 7 p.m. We know that right away the police interviewed the family and began canvassing the neighborhood around the Vaughn's home, interviewing all of their neighbors. Not only were investigators looking for anything suspicious, but they were working to paint a picture of exactly what was happening in the area at the time Michael went missing. From these efforts, they were able to determine that sometime after his dad left the room, Michael went outside, exiting the house through the side garage door. This is how he was able to get out without Tyler hearing him, since the front door was so loud and hard to open. But why did he go outside? And what did he do after he left the house? Investigators pieced together that once outside, Michael went to the homes of his neighbors, knocked on the door, and asked if their kids could come out to play. It's believed that Michael went to 3 different houses, and it sounds like at least one of the neighbors answered the door and said their kids were not able to come out and join him. But why didn't any of the neighbors bring this young boy back home after he knocked on their door? First, I think it's important to put the situation into context. I live in a big city, and if a 5-year-old boy knocked on my door in his underwear, I'd probably call the cops. At the very least, I'd take him by the hand and walk him home to make sure he got there safely. But
I'd do that in my town, and I don't live in a big town like that.
Michael's story isn't taking place in a big city. It's taking place in a quiet neighborhood in a small town where it's common for kids to roam and play together. And remember, just down the street from the Vaughn's home is Crestview Park, where every afternoon families go to play in the water. So while at first you might think the situation sounds strange, when you know all of this, you can understand how it might not have seemed out of the ordinary for his neighbors. But something out of the ordinary did happen. Something happened after Michael knocked on those doors that caused him to vanish. And that something is what investigators were trying to find. So they interviewed all of the neighbors and searched their properties. In fact, in the coming weeks, some of them had their houses and properties searched multiple times, but nothing turned up. Where did Michael go? It's not uncommon in these types of cases for kids to wander off and get lost or stuck. So the Fruitville Police Department had to expand their search, and their troubling discovery would shock everyone.
Did she just say Fruitville instead of Fruitland? It don't matter. It's just what it sounds like she said. And just by stopping for copyright purposes.
One involved in the case. Michael was an active and curious little boy, and he disappeared from a rural agricultural area. Surrounding his neighborhood are fields and fields of farmland, irrigation canals and drainage ditches, and less than a mile away is the Snake River, with its thick shrubs and tree-lined banks. There were tons of places for Monkey to hide or get stuck. So what was law enforcement doing to look for him? Chief Huff said at the time Michael was reported missing, they launched a simultaneous search effort and an investigation. And he knew that if Michael was lost, time was of the essence. Remember, Fruitland's
Fruit Loop like me. Guess we can go back and see.
knocked on the door and asked if their kids could come out to play. It's believed that Michael went to 3 different houses, and it sounds like at least one of the neighbors answered the door and said their kids were not able to come out and join him. But why didn't any of the neighbors bring this young boy back home after he knocked on their door? First, I think it's important to put the situation into context. I live in a big city, and if a 5-year-old boy knocked on my door in his underwear, I'd probably call the cops. At the very least, I'd take him by the hand and walk him home to make sure he got there safely. But Michael's story isn't taking place in a big city. It's taking place in a quiet neighborhood in a small town where it's common for kids to roam and play together. And remember, just down the street from the Vaughn's home is Crestview Park, where every afternoon families go to play in the water. So while at first you might think the situation sounds strange, when you know all of this, you can understand how it might not have seemed out of the ordinary for his neighbors. But something out of the ordinary did happen. Something happened after Michael knocked on those doors that caused him to vanish. And that something is what investigators were trying to find. So they interviewed all of the neighbors and searched their properties. In fact, in the coming weeks, some of them had their houses and properties searched multiple times, but nothing turned up. Where did Michael go? It's not uncommon in these types of cases for kids to wander off and get lost or stuck. So the Fruitville Police Department had to expand their search. And their troubling discovery would shock everyone involved in the case. Michael was an active and curious little boy, and he disappeared from a rural agricultural area. Surrounding his neighborhood are fields and fields of farmland, irrigation canals and drainage ditches, and less than a mile away is the Snake River with its thick shrubs and tree-lined banks. There were tons of places for Monkey to hide or get stuck. So what was law enforcement doing to look for him? Chief Huff said at the time Michael was reported missing, they launched a simultaneous search effort and an investigation. And he knew that if Michael was lost, time was of the essence. Remember, Fruitland's a small town, which means it has a small police force, only about 12 officers. So kudos to Chief Huff, because from the start, he recognized the need for help, and help they got. Immediately, a massive search effort was launched, and all of the resources necessary to find Michael were made available. Neighboring law enforcement agencies responded, along with Idaho State Police, the FBI, and Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue. At one point, there were over 14 different agencies assisting in the search. 3 days after Michael went missing, there was still no sign of him. So Chief Huff gave a press conference with his first update to the public on the scope of the search.
Operations to date include the methodical search of the area near Michael's residence, which included 2 irrigation runoff ditches, which were drained by the Fruitland Public Works Department in an extensive search and rescue effort, including the use of canines, aerial, and marine and land support. Idaho Fish and Game officers are continuing to search the river by boat for 4 to 5 miles downriver and back up, and in the sloughs of the Snake River as well.
4 days later, they still hadn't made any progress, and the chief held a second press conference to announce they were doubling their efforts.
We have methodically and thoroughly searched over 3,000 acres of farm ground with multiple certified canine teams, and we've searched 29 miles of riverbank using private fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, sophisticated drones, boats with canines, kayaks, and paragliders. In the near future, we have a dive team scheduled to search pond in the sloughs down in the area of Southwest 8. And our search effort and rescue efforts will continue as long as we have those resources available to continue that.
Now, if you're from a small town, you can imagine the people of Fruitland wanted to help. Because in a small community, a tragedy like this is felt by everyone. But unlike a lot of other stories you hear where law enforcement will call upon members of the public to help conduct searches, that wasn't the case here. Because they had so many resources, they left the official searches to the trained professionals. That way, if Michael was out there, they would be sure to find him.
So what we're asking the public to do at this point is to search their residences and their homes. Any place that he could be on a larger piece of property, that's what we're asking the public to do. We have trained professional search teams with search canines that are certified. They're professionals, they know what they're looking for. A lot of times when we recruit civilian help, they miss things. And so where we have such an intense...
On TV, when I've been watching shows and they use canines, they always let the dog off the leash and let the dog go. And then the dog alerts them and they go to the dog wherever the dog happens to be. If you're holding the dog on the leash and don't let the dog off the leash, the dog isn't free to roam where it needs to go. It can only go as far as your leash is going to let it go. It doesn't make sense to me. Which way is the right way to do it? I guess it does depend on how the dog's trained. I don't know.
And such an important goal to accomplish. We don't want to miss a thing. Let us work through this with trained professionals.
The search efforts went on for months without any sign of Michael or what might have happened to him. And with each passing day, it became clear that this wasn't just the case of a young boy getting lost. Brandy, despite being supportive of the search, never believed her son had just gone off on his own and gotten lost. He might have been mischievous, but he'd never wandered further than the area around their home. Her maternal instincts were telling her that something much worse had happened that day. And on November 18th, she stood beside Chief Huff at a press conference where he let people know that law enforcement had arrived at the same conclusion.
Remember that a criminal investigation happened at the same time of notification as the time that Michael went missing. And due to the fact that we've conducted multiple searches using every tool available to us, with no success, it increases the possibility that Michael was abducted. From the beginning until we find Michael, I can tell you with certainty that the Fruitland Police Department and our law enforcement partners are using every resource available and we'll continue to look into every possibility until we know exactly what happened.
Could it be that while police were out searching the surrounding areas, they should have been looking closer to home? When something bad happens to a child, fortunately, it's most often at the hands of those they love. Could there be more to the parent's story than police initially suspected? As anyone who follows true crime knows, the investigators wouldn't be doing their job if they didn't look into the family. Tragically, when a child is abducted or murdered, it's statistically most likely to be at the hands of a parent or someone close to them. So what did the police know about Tyler and Brandy? Again, they've been pretty tight-lipped. But Brandy did tell a reporter from News Nation that both her and Tyler had been interrogated as suspects by law enforcement. Brandy was at work across town, and the police were there by the time she got home. So I think it's pretty safe to rule her out. But what about Tyler? Naturally, because he was the one home that day, he's drawn a fair amount of suspicion from...
I'm sorry, I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover. He just looks like somebody that can mess something up. Get over angry at a child or something, you know, like if Monkey was hounding him, you know, because he doesn't have any concept of time. 5-year-olds have no concept of time. And if he knows that his mom was supposed to come home this afternoon and they're going to go to the splash pad, maybe he kept on and kept on and kept on. Are we going to go to the splash pad? When can we go to the splash pad? When will we go to water? When can we go to water? He might have been doing that, and the daddy may have just lost it and possibly backhanded him to quiet him down. Let's hope it didn't happen that way, but could possibly backhand him, and Monkey fell and hit his head too hard, and Tyler didn't know what to do. Anything's possible.
From people following Michael's story. But does that theory even make sense? Start with the fact that the neighbors saw Michael knocking on doors outside shortly before the time Tyler reported him missing. And we know that the cops showed up quickly after he called. If he was responsible, how would he have had time to do something to Michael and conceal it so well that the police and the FBI, who I guaranteed searched his home and his vehicles, didn't find any clues? If you look at the timeline, it just doesn't make sense that whatever happened to Michael was at the hands of his parents. But this hasn't...
She's got a good point there. He was seen knocking on the doors, and Tyler wouldn't have had an opportunity to get Monkey, bring him back home, do something unthinkable, and hide the evidence, all in the amount of time it took to call law enforcement.
Stop people online from voicing their suspicions. Many ask if he wasn't responsible, why haven't we heard from Tyler at press conferences or in interviews? Marky Martin, who interviewed Brandy, addressed this in her reporting.
It's hard for him to relive that evening and the guilt that he feels, day in and day out. He's met with so much meanness that he just won't go on camera anymore.
While she might be the one to get up and talk at press conferences, he is always there in the front row, crying. Could Brandy's intuition have been right? If Michael simply wandered off, how could he have disappeared so suddenly? Coming up, we're going to take a closer look at the police investigation, including suspicious people and vehicles discovered in the area that day. In their initial investigation, law enforcement asked residents to turn over any home surveillance video or Ring doorbell cameras they might have. They were able to collect and review over 60 videos from local residents and businesses, which revealed some suspicious activity. They used the videos to identify the vehicles and people who were in the area on July 27th, zeroing in on the time frame of 6:30 to 7:15 p.m. And on October 8th, investigators announced that they needed the public's help in identifying 2 vehicles and 2 individuals who were in the area that day. Let's start with the vehicles. They released photos and the following descriptions. We are seeking the public's assistance in identifying the driver of a 2016 to 2020 white Honda Pilot, seen leaving the area around Southwest 8th Street around 6:47 p.m. We are also seeking the assistance in identifying the driver of a 2010 or 2011 blue Dodge Avenger, also seen leaving the area on Southwest 8th, but immediately turning right and heading south on South Whitley Drive. And there were 2 individuals seen in the area on the evening Michael went missing, though there are no accompanying photographs for their descriptions. The first individual is an adult male with dark hair and facial hair. He was wearing dark-colored shorts with no shirt and was seen jogging on the sidewalk of Southwest 8th Street near Crestview Park at around 6:15. The second is also an adult male with dark hair, wearing a white t-shirt and black shorts. That evening, he was seen walking off of Southwest 8th Street, down into Crestview Park, past the splash pad and towards the lower drainage area behind the neighborhoods.
That sounds sus. I'm thinking that this person that they're talking about is probably the Shirtcliff guy. And I'm thinking when he was seen walking down this way, he might have had monkey with him.
Could one of these men be connected to Michael's disappearance? The announcement from law enforcement added that these people are not suspects or persons of interest, but it's important to talk to each of them to help us complete the picture of the events that took place that evening. Well, 2 weeks later, the police put out another update, zeroing in on one individual in particular. They thanked their citizens for helping in identifying the driver of the blue Dodge Avenger. They were also able to identify the man seen jogging in the area. But at the time of this recording, investigators still need help in identifying the driver of the white Honda Pilot and the second adult male with dark hair wearing the white t-shirt and black shorts who was seen walking past the splash pad towards the lower drainage. The police have been careful with their statements, but could this be the person who took Michael? And if it is, did he just happen to be in the area that day? Or was little Michael a target? Brandy never believed this was a case of her son getting lost. She also doesn't think that what happened was at the hands of anyone they know. She has said that she believes Michael was abducted, and her mama's intuition tells her that someone had been watching their family. A key factor in finding missing people is media attention. But despite the evidence suggesting,
I don't understand. It seems, okay. Summer Wells. A couple of days after she goes missing, her mom says she was abducted. Sebastian Rogers. The day he goes missing, his mom says he was abducted. Now we've got Monkey. A few days after he goes missing, his mom says he was abducted. I'm wondering, I don't know what I'm thinking. Thinking it's too suspicious to me. Too suspicious.
suggesting Michael was abducted, media still isn't covering this case. The Idaho State Police also never put out an Amber Alert when he first disappeared. What's going on here? Why would the media and police neglect little Michael's case? According to data from the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, less than 1% of their cases in 2020 were stranger abductions. It's actually quite rare. Yet, a lot of people are surprised when they learn this. Why is that? Probably because when a stranger abducts a child, it's usually covered by the media wall to wall. Cases like Jamie Kloss, Elizabeth Smart, and Adam Walsh were covered nationwide by the media for weeks, sometimes months. They got media coverage sometimes for years. So with all signs pointing to a likely stranger abduction, why?
Adam Walsh went missing, goodness, he would probably be like 40, 45 years old now at this point. And to the best of my knowledge, he's never been found. That's why when you're in a grocery store and you hear Code Adam, or if you're in a hospital or anywhere you're at, and a child goes missing, you hear Code Adam. That's what it's about. Code Adam is missing child or endangered child. And it was started at the hands of his dad, who does other missing children. I think he's over America's Most Wanted now, Adam Walsh, or Michael Walsh. So that's Adam Walsh's dad. Yeah. I remember when Adam went missing. I'm dating myself.
Why hasn't the media covered Michael's case more? Honestly, the lack of media attention has been the thing that has surprised me most about this story. And I'm not the only one who's shocked by this. Angeline Hartman, the media director for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, has been quoted as saying, "It's surprising to me that this case has not gotten more national attention." Some wonder if it's because there was no Amber Alert issued for Michael, which has been a point of contention for many when it comes to the handling of this case. Putting one out would have triggered an alert to broadcast media and residents in the area. So why didn't police issue an Amber Alert? In Idaho, they have a set of criteria that a case must meet before an alert will be issued. Michael's case didn't qualify because in the first 12 hours after he went missing, the police didn't know for certain that he had been abducted. And it can be argued that they didn't have enough descriptive information available to believe the Amber Alert would assist in the recovery of the child. But there are a lot of people who argue that those criteria are just guidelines and that the police should have issued one anyway to help find Michael. I'd be curious to hear what you think. Did the police mess up by not issuing an Amber Alert? Let me know in the comments below. So what is being done to bring attention to Michael's?
Okay, I don't think the police messed up by not issuing an Amber Alert in the beginning days. But I think they should have issued one when they discovered that this is what they thought. There should currently at this time, in my opinion, be an Amber Alert out for him. But I can understand why they didn't put one out right away with not having enough following information. Because if they put an Amber Alert out for every child that went missing, people would say, oh, it's just another Amber Alert. Oh, it's just another Amber Alert. And nobody would notice an Amber Alert anymore. So, I mean, I can understand, but I also think sometimes it just needs to be. If the child's, I think they messed up because I think if somebody would have known that they were looking for him that quickly, they might have been able to. Right, that's where I was just fixing to go with what I was saying. I think if a child is under a certain age, like let's say 8 years old, because if they're over 8, they're able to tell somebody, no, they're, over the age of 8, they're old enough for stranger danger, and they're old enough to say, no, I live over there, no, things like that. But at 5, a 5-year-old is going to go to anybody that's going to give them attention or maybe play with them or something. 5-year-old's going to go with them. They don't know danger. I agree. If they're under like 8, I think no matter what state you're in, there should be an Amber Alert if a child goes missing. Because you can always take down an Amber Alert if a child is found. But an Amber Alert needs to go out. I'm just saying.
This case. As a mother, Brandy is desperate. She's conducted press conferences and started to do media interviews to get Michael's case the attention it deserves. That's why I'm doing this video, because this adorable 5-year-old boy could still be out there. And no matter what, his family deserves answers. Someone, somewhere, knows what happened to him. And do you know how cases like this are solved? When someone comes forward with the information law enforcement needs. You can help by sharing this video and Michael's story with others. And if you know anything, you can send in a tip to find Michael at fruitland.org or call 208-642-6006, extension 0. There is a $52,000 reward for information that helps authorities find Michael. Like I said, a lot of people have been critical of law enforcement for not sharing more information, for how they've handled the case, for not doing more media interviews. And as someone who wants all of the information right away, I get that. There are plenty of cases where I think law enforcement is deserving of criticism, but I'm not sure if this is one of them. Could they have done better? Probably. But my sense is, behind the scenes, the investigators on this case are still working hard and running down every lead. You know how you can just tell when a case has touched an investigator and they're taking it personally? I see that in Chief Huff. He has that resolve you'll sometimes see, where it doesn't matter if it takes his whole career, he'll never give up until he solves it. Another missing person story that isn't getting a lot of media attention is the case of Mary Davis Johnson, who disappeared while walking down Fire Trail Road. Her story involves a frantic voicemail, a man who was walking down the road with her, and a husband who moved to California the day after he reported her missing. I'll include a link to that video here, and we'll continue to release more stories of real missing people each week.
So now, the other part of my title says Michael Joseph Vaughn joins Charlie Project. So let's bring that up on screen. I didn't know about this until today. All right, so this is the Charlie Project. Michael Joseph Vaughn, missing. It's like an Amber Alert, but it's not. It's not. They don't distribute it the same way that they distribute. This is more like making flyers, okay? Michael, circa 2021, age progressive to age 7, right here. This is the white guy. I can't bring up that picture, but this is the guy they said they saw walking, the one in the white t-shirt and black shorts, that she said there was no photo to accompany it. That's the photo. And so this is what he might possibly have looked like from here to here in 2 years. Now this more looks like a 10-year-old to me than a 7-year-old, but okay, let's go with it. Because right now he'd be 9. So this might be what he looks like now. You know, it just could be. We don't know. Okay. So with the Charlie Project, you can donate to the project or search to see if somebody's part of the Charlie Project on the screen. All right, let's come to the last screen. I know, you're probably like me. What is the Charlie Project? The Charlie Project is a database of cold case files on more than 14,000 missing persons in the United States. It serves as a publicity vehicle and clearinghouse of information for missing persons. The project attempts to catalog as much information as possible about as many cases as possible into a database and a publicity investigative aid for the public and law enforcement to help solve cases. In order to be eligible for a listing in the Charlie Project website, a person must be missing for at least 1 year. Okay, so at this point right now, even though there's an Amber Alert out, Sebastian and Summer Wells both are eligible to be on the Charlie Project. Uncovered, the Charlie Project. Oh, you can't see that. Okay, that's just okay. I clicked on something. That's why we look lost. Okay. Why didn't it? There it goes. I was going to say. Okay, uncovered. What is the Charlie Project? The Charlie Project maintains a database of cold case profiles of more than 14,000 missing persons. We already read that on the other page. Okay, so they have to be missing for at least 1 year. While the Charlie Project does not actively investigate cases, It seeks to raise awareness and provide publicity to cases of people who might otherwise be overlooked by mass media and or law enforcement. Why is it called the Charlie Project? Charles Brewster Ross, a 4-year-old boy from Germantown, Pennsylvania, was nicknamed Charlie. On July 1st, 1874, he was abducted from his home. His family devoted their lives to finding him, searching all over the world and garnering international attention. Charlie's kidnapping was not the first in the United States, but it was one of the first to receive widespread publicity. Unfortunately, their search proved unsuccessful and Charlie remained lost forever. Today, there is no evidence of his fate, and his story is almost forgotten. It is possible that he died shortly after his disappearance or lived the rest of his life under a different identity with another family, unaware that he was missing. To keep Charlie's memory alive and honor all along missing people in the country, Megan's website was named after him. And then this is the lady that started the website about the Charlie Project. So, you're welcome to go to undercover.com and meet Megan Good. I'll give you the link right here, because this link's not in my description. Becca, I was looking something up earlier and I have this little help button on my screen and I can't hit enter to put something on the screen. Okay, this is where to meet this Megan for the Charlie Project. If you're concerned, look at all these red dots. So do more kids, is this map showing that more people go missing and abducted west of the or east of the Mississippi than west of the Mississippi? Because when you get out here into this area in California and Oregon, it looks like there's a lot. But look at this west. Oh man, because let's see. I think Arkansas and Oklahoma would be like right in this area, and the Mississippi runs up through here. So, kind of, it breaks off into smaller little rivers, but it goes like in through here. So, there's more abductions on that side than there are on this side. Or does it just look that way because there's more land on this side than there? I don't know. My son's home. Okay. So now we know about the Charlie Project. So tomorrow we'll go into some more information about Monkey Vaughn. Hey, turn that down, please. I'm still on my live. Thank you. Did you see my new avatar? Locker. It's the same picture as up here. I just moved it. Welcome to the locker room. And I thought about calling this the locker room because of the sign CJ found. I did AI generated it. So, hey bud, when you eat, please save some for Dad. He'll be home later. So, all right. Thank you for being here. I hope the rest of your evening is wonderful. Do something nice for someone, even if it just be the reason they smile, and get lost. See you tomorrow.